It can be argued that Vladimir Kramnik has more contribution to the game of chess than players like Garry Kasparov, Bobby Fischer, Magnus Carlsen, and so many world champions combined. Because when Vladimir Kramnik was a young chess prodigy, only few could have predicted just how much he would reshape the game forever. He went on to become one of the most legendary chess champions in history and dethroning one of the most dominant world champions in history.
He looked at all the games and he found that even, on this burning sun, there were some spots. So there were certain positions where I didn't feel very comfortable, where, you could actually find out that Kasparov game was not very consistent. So he designed a strategy. A great strategy to drag me from the territories where I felt most comfortable into the territories where I felt shaky. The match was a disaster for me.
There's a common saying that good players follow the rules, but great players rewrite them. And that was exactly what Vladimir Kramnik did.
Guys, Kramnik is a legend, like an absolute legend. Like, he pioneered like so many openings, like he's like, in terms of openings in modern chess, he created everything.
He popularized advanced openings like the Berlin defense, the Kramnik variation of the Sicilian, the Catalan, the semi-Tarrasch, and even the Reti. But while Kramnik is a deeply respected figure, his story is far from simple.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a massive update in the cheating scandal here in late 2023 in the chess world, which features prominently Grandmaster and former world champion Vladimir Kramnik.
He has been at the center of heated controversies, from dramatic accusation of cheatings, the infamous Toilet Gate match, to clashes with FIDE, to being called a fake world champion by some critics, and most recently, his public clashes with modern chess players like Hikaru Nakamura, Jose Martinez, Chess.com, and ChessBase India. At times, he is celebrated as a genius.
I think Vladimir Kramnik is someone who I greatly respect because of the camp that he did in 2019 and 2020 with the youngsters of Indian chess. At that point, Kramnik would sort of come in and spend the entire day there till 6 p.m, spending it with them, showing his games, talking to them, sort of building this confidence. I think it was the first time that they got to interact with a world champion. I have like immense gratitude to both Kramnik and Gelfand for like the time they gave and the amount of they did it with their heart. They did not just come in there and say, okay, this is our job. And then they would speak to the media telling that, these are the future of chess and so on. And I think that really helped.
At other times, branded as a sore loser.
I pulled up my game history from that day, and I actually found the exact segment where I enter the moves in. And I said, let me show you the game history. And suddenly Kramnik's like, no, it's okay. You don't have to. Right? So this is where the gaslighting comes in. I'm not using the word correctly. It's like when I am like that close to showing how much of an asshole you are and how cruel what you're doing is, suddenly you just like push it away.
Love him or hate him, Kramnik's career is one of the most fascinating in all of chess history. This video is not to defend Kramnik or to object Kramnik. This video is simply to give you the most detailed biography of Vladimir Kramnik. Do well to watch to the end because in this video, I'm going to explore the triumphs, the controversies, and the legacy of the man who changed chess forever. In the year 2000, something unthinkable struck the chess world. The greatest champion the game had ever known, Garry Kasparov, had fallen. This loss was so shocking and so unimaginable. But what was even more shocking and even more unimaginable was the person he lost to. It wasn't Vishy Anand, who was one of the top contenders at that time. It wasn't Alex Shirov, a player who brought fire and creativity to the board. Kasparov actually lost to a quiet and reserved figure, a man few had expected to win, Vladimir Kramnik. To put this in context, Garry Kasparov for 15 years had been more than just a world champion. He was the face of modern chess and the symbol of dominance. He prepared with machine-like intensity and broke down grandmasters with surgical precision. This man is the only man to out-prepare Karpov, out-calculate Anand, out-maneuver Ivanchuk, and dismantle Shirov. To challenge Garry Kasparov was to step into a storm, and every chess player that dared to was swept away. So when it was time for him to choose his next challenger in 2000, the world watched with anticipation. Many expected a clash of titans, probably a rematch with Shirov or a long-awaited duel with Anand. But Kasparov did something many considered controversial and unfair. He selected Kramnik, a player who had never won a qualifying circle and had even recently lost to Shirov. The reaction was immediate: confusion and even outrage. To many, Kramnik was not a threat. He didn't play with fire. He wasn't the opponent the world expected or wanted. But here is the truth: those who doubted Kramnik were mistaken. Even though that some of them were grandmasters and brilliant chess analysts, they simply did not know that for Kramnik, defeating the world champion could pass as the tip of the iceberg of the unthinkable things he had done before getting to that stage. Kramnik had already faced challenges that would have broken most players, including the great Garry Kasparov himself. To actually understand how he did the impossible, we must go back in time to Tuapse. Vladimir Kramnik did not come from a major chess city like Moscow or Leningrad. He was born in Tuapse, a small town nestled along the southern coast of the Black Sea. The reason Tuapse is a very critical symbol in this story is that Tuapse was not the kind of place where world champions were made. It was a quiet coastal town tucked away between the Black Sea and the Caucasus Mountain. Beautiful, yes, but far from the chess capitals of the world. In Tuapse, at that time, dreaming too big wasn't encouraged. It wasn't even considered. There were no grand halls, no elite coaches, or bright lights. It was a town known more for its serene waters and artistic spirit than for producing great minds of sport or science. Kramnik's father was a respected sculptor and painter in the Krasnodar region, while his mother a music teacher. What this meant was that Kramnik was from an environment of quiet refinement, art, music, learning, but not competition, a great trait needed for playing chess. No one in the town played chess professionally. In fact, chess was barely more than an afterthought. The only reason the chess world has a Kramnik is because in most intellectual Soviet homes, there's always a chess set. And one quiet afternoon, Kramnik's father took it out and showed him the moves. In that simple moment, a spark was lit, a spark that would never go out. By age 5, Vladimir was already spending time at the town's House of Pioneers, the only place where chess was taken even remotely seriously. Kramnik quickly stood out. When he got to the 3rd grade, he had won the town's adult championship and became a local celebrity even before he had finished primary school. He was so good he did not take his final exams in school because he was busy playing chess competitions, and no one complained, not even his maths teacher. Before the world knew his name, Vladimir Kramnik was already defying odds, one game at a time. Then something incredible happened. At the Krasnodar Junior Championship, there was a 9-year-old boy. The boy sat at the board with pieces that felt too large, surrounded by boys who laughed too loudly and looked at him like an odd mistake. But round after round, the boy didn't flinch. In the finals, the boy came up against Oganian, the undefeated leader in that competition. This talented boy had the black pieces for the final game, and one could actually see a storm of doubt brewing behind his eyes. But then, as the pieces began to move, the silence inside the boy became something sharp. He stopped playing like a child, then he started playing like a threat. He dismantled Oganian's position with precision beyond his years. The room fell quiet. The laughter that was in the room shrunk into inexistence as they watched the boy lift the trophy for winning the competition. But the real shock would come a year later. This was when Alexander Penchenko, a Soviet grandmaster and a mentor to a generation of players, visited some local areas to scout for local chess talents. During this scouting session, there was an informal match between Alexander Penchenko and this same boy. No one expected anything. It was just a sparring match, a bit of fun, and just another routine of the scouting process. Everyone expected Penchenko would win, then every player would gather around for a light teaching moment from a grandmaster. But what unfolded left the room still. The boy didn't just survive the game against one of the best trainers, he actually won it, cleanly and calmly. Penchenko sat back, stunned that at just 10 years old, Vladimir Kramnik had defeated one of the finest best minds in Soviet chess just after winning the Crescendo Junior Championship against boys that were way older than him. Just when we thought that was all over from the promising chap, at 11, Vladimir Kramnik earned the title of Candidate Master. With this, in the eyes of his folks, he was already a god of chess. But from an objective view, he was nothing. This is because although he already possessed the rare instinct to find deep plans, to reposition his pieces with harmony, and to feel the rhythm of a game, his understanding of opening was still basic, just a few moves deep. And without deeper knowledge, he could go no further. At best, he might become a local champion, but to become a master, to become a grandmaster, or a contender for the world title, that was fantasy. Being from Tuapse did not help his case. Even as his gift began to blossom, it bloomed in darkness, unseen, untrained, and unsupported. If he did not move away from his hometown to source for more knowledge about chess, he would be forgotten in Tuapse. The saving grace for Vladimir Kramnik was that there was an enthusiastic chess fan from Tuapse. This man was not a grandmaster or even a coach. He just loved Kramnik's games and believed in Vladimir. So, without telling Kramnik or his parents, this man wrote a letter to Botvinnik, the father of Soviet chess. He described Vladimir Kramnik as an 11-year-old candidate master and someone with great potential, and also recommended he should be considered for admission. As a former world champion, Botvinnik had a chess academy that produced countless great chess players. The chess academy would have been the perfect setting for Kramnik to develop. For this reason, the man wrote to Botvinnik hoping he would give Kramnik a chance, because he knew the school were always in search of talent. But the issue was that Botvinnik always received many such letters, most of which he likely dismissed without reading. To make matters worse, the letter from the enthusiastic chess fan had less probability of being read because it was not from a grandmaster or an accredited coach, which Botvinnik would obviously give priority to. Apart from that, this man was just a chess fan who did not know how to accurately describe Kramnik's chess strengths. So even if Botvinnik picked up the letter, it wouldn't be some precise description of Kramnik's chess strength, but just some generic description. Regardless, this man took a wild chance and wrote, where he described Kramnik as an 11-year-old candidate master from a tiny coastal town and a boy no one had heard of. Truth be told, the letter was destined to be ignored because every parent believed their child was a prodigy and every fan always hoped to discover the next star. There was no reason to believe this one would be any different. Days passed, weeks, no response, nothing. Then the man realized he had made a mistake. He did not attach Kramnik games to the letter he sent. This was a blunder a chess coach or master would not have made because they know it would come in handy to review the chess player's strength. But luckily for him, Botvinnik did something he almost never did. He read this man's letter and even wrote back requesting for Kramnik's games to be sent. The man immediately sent 11 of Kramnik's games, but Botvinnik did not access more than 5 of them, confirming that he wanted him on his camp immediately. Just like that, Kramnik was admitted into the elite Dethroning Kasparov school, a rare and priceless opportunity. Here, he began his journey into the deepest reaches of chess mastery. Under the guidance of Soviet chess legends, he was exposed to elite chess preparation, strategic depth, and a disciplined approach to the game that only a handful of young players ever experienced. From that moment on, he became a force to reckon with in the chess academy, till something shocking happened. It was something way bigger than chess. The year was 1991. The singular thing that held chess together for the whole chess academy and even Botvinnik collapsed. It was the USSR. 1917 was a year Russia was reeling from World War I. People were starving and the army was collapsing and millions died. But it all stopped in 1922 when the Bolsheviks had won and from the ruins, the USSR was formed. The USSR united multiple republics under one communist state, led from Moscow. Russia was the largest and the most powerful, but others like Ukraine, Belarus, Armenia, Georgia, and the Central Asian states were part of this bold, brutal experiment. They were united and strong, and this was even ingrained in their national anthem. Chess became part of the national identity. From 1948 to 1990, the World Chess Championship was practically a Soviet institution. Every world champion in that era wore the Soviet flag. No other nation came close. To be the Soviet champion often meant you were the best player on earth. But unfortunately, all these dominance stopped when the unbreakable union of the three republics were later shattered. The reason for this departure was quite complicated. As reported, what many did not know was that despite the USSR became a global powerhouse, it came at a staggering human cost. Mass purges, forced labor camps, famines, and repressions. And due to all of these vices, the Soviet Union was officially dissolved in December 1991. This had a ripple effect on chess. For decades, the USSR competed as a country, even though it was a union of 15 republics all feeding into one colossal system. And in chess, that system was a machine of excellence. But with the dissolvement of the USSR, borders were withdrawn, flags were replaced, and for the first time, chess became national and not Soviet. The once mighty Soviet chess team splintered overnight. Players who once sat together as teammates now became rivals. Even more critically, funding disappeared and state support evaporated. What was once a powerful centralized system became a scattered archipelago of talents, brilliant individuals, but no longer marching under one banner. This dissolvement happened in 1991, a year before the Chess Olympiad. So by 1992, when the Chess Olympiad came around, there was a lot of tension in the air. Eyes were on all the departed nations that broke out from the USSR, especially Russia, the largest and most powerful remnant of the fallen Soviet giant. For that Chess Olympiad in 1992, Russia wasn't just playing to win. They were playing to prove they were still the heart of the chess world. And with all this tension and pressure in the air, Vladimir Kramnik got into the news again. But this time, it was for a very controversial reason. Despite being the young and the least experienced player on the Russian team, and arguably the most underestimated in the entire Olympiad, he scored 8.5 out of 9, the best result not just on the Russian team but in the entire Olympiad. He received his gold medal on his 17th birthday. The chess world was stunned into silence and could no longer deny Vladimir Kramnik. In the months that followed, Vladimir Kramnik's rise only accelerated. At the tournament of young stars in Greece, he entered as the favorite and put off a performance that left a lot of people jaw dropped. Then came the European Team Championship, where he became the team's anchor and central striker, and he scores 5 wins, 2 draws, and no losses. Once again, the best individual result of the tournament. All these wins led to a leap that cannot be called anything but gigantic. Kramnik's rating approached close to 2,700 mark, which is usually regarded as the dividing line between the super grandmasters and grandmasters who are merely strong. And on the ranking list of the best chess players, he moved up to number 6 in the world. This new position set him on a high note as he prepared for his first international tournament in Linares. There was a Frenchman many people tipped to be a champions challenger, and many always rumored was better than Kramnik. The name of this young man is Joel Lothier. Although it felt like a ridiculous statement to compare Kramnik to Joel, even after everything Kramnik had achieved, a lot of people still believed Joel was better than Kramnik. This was because before Kramnik got all his fame, he had played against Joel, and Joel won and was leading by a point, which made many convinced despite all of Kramnik's successes, he would still be defeated by Joel. And to clear everyone's doubts, a match was organized. It was a landslide victory. Lothier lost 4 games out of 6, which was a good one for Kramnik, cementing his place as the heir to the throne and clearing all his doubters on his ability to compete at the highest stage. But sadly, this win against Joel would be one of the last on the line of the great wins he would have as a teenager before he would be figured out. Botvinnik, the father of Soviet chess, always advised for his players to stay away from friendly matches before tournament, and that was exactly what Kramnik did with his match he organized with Joel. Although he won that match and he cleared all of his doubters, he performed below expectation in Linares. The only positive Kramnik took from the tournament in Linares was that he beat Ivanchuk, who was number 3 in the world. Linares was not just another tournament, it was a proper super tournament with super grandmasters, and it was in this tournament a weak point in Kramnik's game was exposed, and that weakness was that he was not a born cold killer at the chessboard. As a teenager among legends, he sometimes pressed too hard in equal or worse position, leading to avoidable losses. His nerves occasionally showed, especially in situations that required patience over aggression. While his positional understanding was deep, he struggled in sharp tactical battles, often misjudging complex positions against seasoned tacticians like Ivanchuk and Anand. Compared to the ruthless consistency of Kasparov and Karpov, Kramnik's inexperience was evident, and Linares was the first time it showed he was not invincible after all. Despite his prodigious reputation, he suffered inconsistency at elite tournaments. In Dortmund 1994, he finished in the middle of the pack, well below expectation, and in Wisconsin 1995, he stumbled with several draws and losses against lower-rated players, a sign that his youthful fire still needs discipline. In Linares in 1995, he faced a tough field and finished behind Kasparov, Anand, Ivanchuk, losing crucial games in sharp positions. Against tactical beasts like Topalov, he was outpunched in dynamic complications, revealing a weakness in chaotic battles. As his style matured into something quieter and more positional, some began to call his chess too cautious, and in a chess world still ruled by Kasparov's fire, it did not simply make sense that Kramnik would be able to take over. The chess world wasn't sure what to make of Kramnik anymore. He had brilliance but lacked consistency, and just when the doubter seems to be winning, a door opened. What door could this be? And more importantly, what lies beyond in this story of Vladimir Kramnik? Subscribe now and hit the notification bell to find out. The next chapter of this video and this incredible story is coming out soon. So please don't miss it. Hit that subscribe button and I'm going to deliver as soon as possible. Thank you very much for watching my video to this point. I really appreciate. See you in the next video.